All right, welcome everyone. I see that we get attendance connecting right now. We're going to give everyone a couple of minutes to um, properly connect and we'll get started. Good, I see that more people is joining. Welcome everyone. Let's give the other attendees a few minutes to properly connect. Once the inflow stops, we'll begin. If you can confirm in the meantime, if you can hear me and see my screen, that'd be great. You can do so through the chat or Q&A, depending on the case. Perfect. Thanks for the feedback. All right. Okay, let's get rolling. Well, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gabriel Zhang, product specialist here at Techdinamics. And today's webinar is titled Leveraging Data Analytics for Supply Chain Optimization. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about how you can make the best out of the data you have in techSHIP, okay, and techTRACK as well. How you can combine these two, what kind of scenarios you can detect, and what settings you can apply in order to improve your operations. Many times we are uh, if we are not acquainted with specific features or these have been released after we have our setups already configured, we might be missing opportunities to improve our operations, sometimes critically. So we're going to talk a little bit about these, okay? Now, in order to make informed decisions, you need data, okay? And it's really important that we keep this in mind when it comes to how we process our orders, what choices we make at the time of choosing the carriers that we're going to operate through, what settings could be used in order to improve operation through specific carriers, and where we can find that data in order to make the best of it, make the best use of it. We're going to talk about related features in techSHIP and techTRACK that can put that data into good use. And for that, we're going to see a little bit of everything, a batch and configuration review in techSHIP based on some use cases, and tracking and statistics review in techTRACK based on those cases as well. So let's first of all talk a little bit about potential data in techSHIP and techTRACK. So over here we have both techSHIP on the left side, techTRACK on the right side. There's a direct dependency between techSHIP and techTRACK. techTRACK fully depends on what goes on in techSHIP in order to get base information and then do the proper follow-up towards the carriers. So what we do in techSHIP has a direct impact in the quality of information we might have in techTRACK, as well as what actually happens at the time of shipping within techSHIP. Within techTRACK, we can make a detailed follow-up of these cases to then, as sort of like in a feedback mechanism, polish edges on techSHIP side based on what we can see or understand that is going on techTRACK end. Okay. So on techSHIP side, we have access to lots of information, but these three are quite critical to improving the way operations can be impacted. Okay. So first of all, we have estimated transit times. These are available through batches and the rate section. We're going to see that in a minute. to make sure that you're meeting the quality of service that you need, and having transparent information in that sense, to see how carriers are performing, where you can find some areas of improvement, and how you can change setup elements in order to adjust the needs that you have the setup that you have to the needs that you need to meet. Okay. Then also validations. There's information validation. There's a direct impact at the time of delivery if you have missing data, bad data. So there are many ways to improve that on TechShip Send. There are scenarios you might not detect in TechShip because some information might be valid upfront or accepted by the carrier, even not though fully valid, which can be detected in techTRACK. And with that information in techTRACK, you can circle back to techSHIP and improve or polish the setup on that side as well. And also we got the rates when it comes to techSHIP. You have access to the rates returned by the carriers. And these are fully transparent in that sense. Either if they're marked up or not, if they have taxes or not applied, there are many scenarios that could be handled that sense. But these are on TechShip side. And this is really important data for several reasons. We're going to review in a few moments why. And when it comes to techTRACK, within techTRACK, which is phase 2 of shipping things, you already shipped things and now you're following up. Or you have closed your orders and you still haven't shipped them, but these are or should be ready to ship. Within techTRACK, there's transparency on the delivery efficiency, how carriers are performing, how much volume you're shipping through and for different clients. So you have a carrier distribution, and there's also time distribution information. When you have different volumes and peaks throughout the year, even broken up by weeks. So the time distribution could be an important element to take into account at the time of setting different things up, or reorganizing or rerouting a workforce towards a specific client on a specific time of the year. Okay. So this is the potential data we can find in both systems. Again, there's a lot more information. Today we're going to focus in these. Now, the related features in TechShip and techTRACK to these particular and potential data information that we might need or we might use are the following. If we think about estimated transit times as data in TechShip, you have advanced restrictions, which allow you to set restrictions based on delivery dates or transit time. So for example, if you would have, say that you need to find a balance between, thinking about the last option here in TechShip, cost versus speed, right? If you go through the cheapest option, but maybe just the fact of it being the cheapest doesn't cut it. You need to meet some certain service levels. For example, 3-day delivery tops. So in that case, the cheapest might not work. And you might need to find the next to the cheapest that actually makes it in that time. So advanced restrictions allow you to reach this cost versus speed balance. I want the fastest I need, but the cheapest option within that realm, okay? When it comes to validations, the billing account setup is critical for that as well on TechShip side. We're going to review one of these scenarios where an issue is detected in techTRACK, and we're going to see how we can fix that on TechShip Send. And within techTRACK, the features related to this visibility and the capability of reviewing delivery efficiency, the carrier distribution, your volume, right, and the time distribution throughout different months or weeks can be reviewed through the main dashboard, the tracking details section, and the tracking dashboard as well. So we're going to take some time to review these sections, okay? Without much more introduction, let's do it. Let's jump into a techSHIP and the techTRACK portal and see where we can find this information. Okay. Now, over here, I have a batch. Okay. This is a batch of 7 orders. Some of these orders are international, others are domestic. Okay. So as you can see over here, we have these are all test orders. All right. So don't be surprised if you have weird tracking numbers like these. All right. Don't worry about it. But as you can see, some of these went USPS, International First Class, and some of them are UPS Standard. All right. Now, what I want to check with you is the transit time, because these are surely the cheapest options that were found for each one of these orders, because we're rate shopping here. As you can see, we have carrier rate shopping. There are several carriers behind this client, CA Enterprises. And this is the best that TechShip could find. Okay. Now let's review this one in particular. Okay, let's go with order 120 42 55. To check the rates and the transit time, we edit the order and we click in the rates tab. Okay, typically you'll be sent to general here. You need to switch to rates. And within this view, what you'll see is that you have a table with everything that was considered for this particular shipment. We got the carrier, the service, delivery date, if there's a specific date reported by the carrier, transit time reported by the carrier as well, the account which you're using, and you also see the amount, that's a rate, okay? And for additional information, a little bit more technical, this is the API response time. In this case, since we're using a test API, this time is not being reported here, but in a production environment, you'll most likely see it. Now, as you can see over here, the cheapest option was UPS Standard. We had 3 carriers, 3 carrier options rating for this. Some of these were small parcel, which are these that we have here, small parcel. We had USPS up here with some options, UPS down here, and then below we have LTL options. This particular setup allows us to rate shop small parcel versus LTL in case of fringe scenarios where it would be more efficient to ship LTL rather than just small parcel. Now, in this particular case, there are much more efficient options in terms of transit time on the other carriers, even within the same carriers. Over here, we have UPS, for example, doing Express Saver and Express. And the transit time is 1 day. And for LTL, well, obviously, over here we have expedited 2 days, okay? Nevertheless, you can see that the chosen option has 5 days transit time. And over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options, okay? Which can deliver in better times than the chosen option. Now, the cost is way off when it comes to comparing with the closest options, okay? As we can see, there's a leap between these two of almost double the price. In fact, it's a little bit over double the price, but it's 5 times faster than the selected option. That's where you need to start weighing what you're actually looking for. If you're looking for cost efficiency or if you're looking for the best transit time, and try to find a balance between those two if needed, okay? Sometimes, for some cases, you can just go with the cheapest option. There's no urgency with what you're delivering. You're being upfront, not promoting 1 or 2 day shipping, okay? And it's good. If it's delivered in 5 days time, trying to get the best rate, that's fine. If that's part of the plan, that's okay. Now, if it's not, if you need to meet some certain requirements, in that case, you might need to set some restrictions and tell the system, hey, bring me the cheapest option, but I need it to be no longer the 2 day stops, right? So by using advanced restrictions, you can improve and you can still keep cost efficiency within the threshold of the service that you want to deliver or provide in that sense. If you promise 2-day shipping, you can define rules that actually tell the system it has to be 2 days and not a day more. But within the 2 days, I want to find the cheapest option. I don't want to pay a cent more over what I would if I would just arbitrarily choose a specific option or service. Okay. So this is one piece of information that can improve or help you improve service and the cost and keep a good balance for it. Okay. The way you would fix that or the way you would improve that, we're going to see that at the end of the session. Okay. First, I want to show you a few more things related to techTRACK. Okay. Now, over here, we have 5 days transit time. Now, the fact of the carrier saying that it's going to have 5 days transit time, it's always an estimation because things can happen in between. You know it quite well. Okay, so there could be things that delay the shipment. There could be issues in between. It could be weekends in between as well, which are not properly calculated. So these are things that should be taken into account at the time of configuring your techSHIP environment. But the follow-up is really important as well to make sure that the carrier is actually meeting the times they promised at the time of choosing this option. Otherwise, it would be super easy. The carrier would just lie on the transit time and give you the cheapest rate out there just to hook you up, and that's it. It's like, oh, okay, good. We're just going to grab all these shipments. We're going to win all the shipments over here. We're going to deliver whenever we want, right? Doesn't work that way. So within techTRACK, you have the capability to see if these are being properly shipped in time or not, if they're being inducted in time or not, okay? Where do we find that? Let's jump into techTRACK, okay? First of all, again, your tracking number is going to be key over here. If you have a techTRACK integration with your portal, these will become hyperlinks, which you can click, and it will take you straight to the tracking history of that shipment, okay? Just as a reminder, for those not acquainted with the techTRACK connection, there's a direct dependency on how the portal is set up. Your techSHIP portal should be configured to connect to your techTRACK portal, and as you manifest orders in techSHIP, that information is going to flow automatically to techTRACK, and techTRACK will begin its automatic process of doing the follow-up for each one of these shipments that you have closed and manifested in techSHIP, okay? Now, go into techTRACK, okay, over here we have an environment. Within here, let's imagine that within this realm of almost 1 million orders, we have these 7 that we processed, okay? Now, I want to know if the carrier is actually delivering properly or not, okay? So if you access techTRACK and you go to Track Dashboard, this is what you'll see. This view allows you to, first of all, apply filters up here. If you want to specifically target a client, a carrier, a specific time frame, year, month, even if you have more than one warehouse, filter by warehouse, okay? If you have global visibility over your techSHIP portals. And then you will have different sections. Let me scroll down a little bit to check statistics, okay? Which will tell you if the carriers are actually living up to their word or not, okay? This particular section we're going to skip for today, but in broad words, what it does is show the volume or to which countries you're shipping more volume. The darker in the map, the more volume you're shipping there. So clearly, in this particular environment, most of the volume is going to the US, then Canada follows up, and then we could have different shipments going to other countries in the world, but it's not significant in terms of volume, as you can see. Okay, if I click in any of the countries, we might get a few shipments here and there, but it's not the biggest mass of volume here. Now below, this is where we want to focus for the moment. We have some stats over here in terms of percentages, where we have the on-time delivery, the on-time induction, the late deliveries, late inductions, and failed deliveries, okay? Now, all this information what we're seeing right now is across all clients, which I'm managing, and all carriers. So these are averages across all clients and all carriers, okay? It's really likely that some carriers might be dragging the stats down, and that's why we might not have 100% on-time delivery or 100% on-time induction. Maybe some carriers are super good and they deliver 100% in time, or they induct 100% in time, and some are terrible and I don't know, deliver 50% in time or 60% in time, and they induct late, okay? But the fact of having this information in a transparent way is helpful for us to act not on a hunch, but actually on specific information, okay? Now, before I dive a little bit dive a little bit deeper, let's go into the definition of these indicators, okay? So we have on-time delivery, which means that the shipment was delivered within the time threshold that was expected, okay? We have on-time induction, which is that the shipments were picked up and they moved, they started moving throughout the carrier's system in within the time frame of 24 hours after manifest, okay? Then we have late delivery, which means that these are shipments that were delivered after the expected time threshold. We have late inductions, shipments that had any type of activity within the carrier's system over 24 hours after these were manifested, and failed deliveries, orders that literally or specifically failed to deliver. If you add failed delivery to late delivery, and you add this to on-time delivery, okay, what you should get is 100%, because this is the actual and the sum of every shipment you have handled. Some might have been delivered on time, others might have been delivered late, and some might just have failed to deliver, okay? But that sum should always be 100%. And then the other 100% you'll have is on-time induction plus late induction, okay? This should also add to 100%, covering every shipment that you have manifested, okay? Just a quick clarification on on-time induction, because this, even though the explanation or the definition is general, it could have particularities depending on the carrier. But in general terms, what an on-time induction means is that you press the manifest button in techSHIP, the order was closed, and the manifest was properly handled by the carrier, and then you have the system keeps track of this 24-hour threshold for the carrier to pick it up, but not only pick it up, but scan them on their facility. As orders come from techSHIP to techTRACK, these orders will have one activity element or one event, which is typically, it's called differently depending on the carrier, but it's typically called something in between manifest generated or electronic information submitted, something similar to that, letting us know that there was a first interaction with the carrier system. Now, if within 24 hours, the carrier doesn't scan the order at their facility, or someone doesn't interact with that package, that's what a late induction is in this indicator, okay? That's what late induction means. No one did anything to the package in 24 hours. And a late induction it's not a red flag, but a yellow flag, okay? Because it could mean that the carrier is being slow at handling, or it could also mean that the order was never, the package never left the warehouse. Maybe it's lost. It's between, it's among other things, and someone forgot to load that one, or they scanned the wrong one, or something like that, okay? So again, it could be a mistake on the warehouse end. It could be something that the carrier is failing to deliver, in terms of action. Okay. So again, a late induction is not a problem as such, but it's a yellow flag. It's a warning sign. Take into account that this could be late, late delivered at the end. In some cases, carriers late induct, but don't late deliver. So you could perfectly have a scenario where a carrier has this kind of stats: 61% on-time induction, 61% on-time induction, 38% late induction, and they have 100% on-time delivery. Because even though the first scan was late, they step on the gas and they make it on time at the time of delivery. Okay. Now, if this is if my on-time induction is low and they have lots of late inductions, there are a few things that you can do to leverage this data to improve this indicator. You could, for example, properly coordinate with the carrier the pickup times. You can improve your loading processes and controls, making sure that nothing is lost on the way. There are many things that could depend on us to improve this indicator. Okay. Now, if everything on our side has been done, everything within our reach has been properly polished, in that case, what remains is on the carrier side. And there's not much we can do other than just open a claim, complain, explain, talk to them to see what can be improved. But again, maybe the carrier will say, it's a late induction, but we still make it on time. So don't worry about it. We have it covered. In other cases, it could be terrible. It's like they got late, they didn't deliver on time because they inducted late. That package was sleeping over the weekend on a carrier facility, and I don't know, it's been there 3 days more. Who knows why, right? And then it was a late delivery. And people were sending you emails. The customer was, well, it's not here. And then you might have to, I don't know, refund, or, well, you know how it goes. So again, having visibility of a late induction, knowing that a carrier is not a good performer, could give you a little bit of edge into pushing for a better service, and not end up with a whole lot of angry customers reaching and claiming over not complying with delivery times, where you could preemptively reach the carrier saying, guys, why did you take 5 days to move this package? What's going on? Is this particular package not another one? Because the good thing about this is that if you click in this section, late induction, this is going to take you to another panel, which is going to automatically filter all the orders that represent that 38.8% for late inductions. So you know, by tracking number, each one of these conflicted orders. We're not going to do it right now. We're talking about 38%, 39% of 1 million. So it's going to take a little bit to load, especially in this test environment. But you get the idea, okay? So this is information you can use to improve your performance drastically, okay? Now, if you want to be more specific, you can filter by client just by clicking in any of these. Or you can filter by carrier as well. For example, in this case, I processed a UPS. We were reviewing a UPS order in the batch. Now, if you click over here, what you're going to do is filter UPS orders only. So out of the 9 million that we have, or almost 10 million we have over here, I want to see how UPS performs. So we're going to click this in a moment. Try to keep a snapshot in your mind of these stats: 88.7%, 61.2% on time induction. I'm going to click in UPS, and techTRACK is going to filter for me and let me know how UPS performs. Out of the 10 million orders, how much volume UPS handled for how many clients. In this case, the main group is 882, could be much less under UPS only. And take a look at the shipping trend below. As you can see, the shipping trend is quite stable across the year, and it starts spiking up by September, October, November, and December. That's quite usual. That's quite common to the end of year peak season. Okay, so we have Black Friday, Cyber Monday, 11/11, Christmas, etc. Okay, but as you can see, for example, in this case, UPS served for not 882 clients, but 377, with a volume at 1.5 million orders. And as you can see, UPS has been great on on-time delivery. They delivered 99.8 in time and failed to deliver 0.2. So that's great. Is as you can see, UPS is not representative on the average. In fact, there could be, if I get this type of stats and I compare that with the average, I would like to know which carriers are dragging the stats down more than 10 points on delivery time. Someone is being a really slow deliverer. On-time induction, as you can see, 83.7, much better than the average. And there's no impact on late deliveries, because in this particular case, the 0.2 that wasn't delivered on time failed to deliver. So in this case, what you can see is that within the failed deliveries, we have 0.2%. We can also click this over here in order for you to see which orders failed to deliver, and you can go specifically into them to see why they failed to deliver. Could it be related to addresses that were wrong? Could it be related that the person wasn't there? Okay, these two scenarios, for example, are really different one from another, because one depends on us, the other depends on the consignee. So if the person is not there, let's say they went on vacation for a month, right? Or these people are retired people. They live 6 months one place, 6 months in another place, right? So when the carrier effectively went there and they tried to deliver, they just couldn't, because there was no one there. Okay, there was no indication on what to do with the package. If it had to be left, if it was to be abandoned, if it was to be say, for example, to left at a post office for later pickup, that sort of thing can be improved with through your techSHIP setup. So in that sense, this is something you like to have if you want to improve your operations as well, so you don't get abandoned packages, for example. Again, one scenario depends on the carrier, the other one doesn't. If we had a failed delivery because we didn't validate addresses, well, that's our fault. And that's because we didn't properly set up the accounts in TechSHIP, for example. So this is important to take into account as well. But all this information transpires from what happened in TechSHIP first and what we have available here as part of this transparent data. As for the shipping trend, as you can see, UPS is quite stable again. It's even quite interesting that as you hover over here, well, you're going to see the volume that represents this, the specific volume that represents this peak or point in time here. But we had a similar volume in March than what we had halfway through peak season. So what this tells me is that for this particular for what I handle for this particular carrier, it doesn't make much of a difference when it comes to peak season. So I don't have to, there's not much I can do when it comes to reorganizing things. Now, if I would have instead of filtering by carrier, I filter by client. There I would be, we're not going to do it right now, but there I would be able to see for a specific client when their peak season is. Because peak season is a general concept. Not everyone's peak season is on peak season, right? It's not November, December, October. Maybe for someone selling camping equipment, the peak season is in March because they're selling tents and coolers and fishing rods and a whole bunch of other things a few months ahead of summer. And their peak season is in March. March, April, May, worst case scenario. And it's flat in October, November, December, because no one's going to buy a tent at that time of the year. So again, this information on the shipping trend is very, very useful at the time of seeing how much you're shipping for whom and when. And you can reorganize your workforce to specifically work harder or differently in different times of the year for different clients you might have. This is super useful as well when you compare the carriers with the clients to also know when the carriers are more efficient for a client. Let me again give you another scenario that you might face. Say, for example, that you have this client which is shipping tech goods, all right? And you know by fact that at the end of the year you get lots of emails of people complaining. My shipment was late, my shipment was lost, my items were damaged, etc., etc. And that is easily relatable to peak season. Why do people complain more by the end of the year? Well, because we're shipping 4, 5, 10 times more volume these 3 months than the rest of the year, right? But one thing is acting on a hunch, and another thing is acting on specific data. For example, how much volume am I shipping in December? Oh, it was 161,000 orders. How much people do I need to handle this type of volume? Okay. Do I need more people? Do I need to keep my team organized the same way? Okay. So you can leverage this data not only system-wise, but human resources-wise. You can get to know in advance if you have the same trend for a client over a few years. You can say, oh, okay, this particular client ABC Tech, yeah, these guys, the worst time in the year because of the volume that we have is October, November, and December. It's where we have the most work. So we need to reassign some guys to handle these orders, or for them to be more careful because the claims that I have is damaged items, for example. Okay. So again, this information is can be used that way. And again, you can filter it by carrier, by client, by break it up by month. For example, from here, I'm not going to do it right now because we might run out of time. But I could say, well, out of December, when are the busiest weeks? Because I got this peak over here, but I can break December in 4 weeks and see which particular week is the hardest one. And if you sit down and you start comparing the data, you can find the trends year by year, month by month, and you can design a plan based on numbers, based on factual data, not on hunches. Oh, it's going to be a hard year this year, starting October, right? It's like, no, we have this amount of growth between last year and the previous one, between this year and the estimated volume that we'll have this current year, and design a plan on that. Okay. Now, when it comes to exceptions, let me show you how this looks like. Okay, let's say, for example, if I would click fade delivery, this is something that I would see. You can also access this section from performance dashboard or performance, depending on the case, what you're looking for. This is performance dashboard. Okay. Which allows us to apply quick filters to find conflicting orders. As you can see over here, all these indicators are negative indicators: late induction, late delivery, failed delivery. We don't have the happy cases of on-time deliveries over here or on-time inductions. We have problems here. Okay. And as you can see, you can filter up here by year, by month, by client, by carrier, by warehouse. And below, you can also quick filter by not inducted, orders that might be lost at a warehouse, late inducted, okay, late deliveries, and failed deliveries. When these are filtered here, and you can apply these filters for the last 30 days, 14 days, or 5 days, making it last week, last 2 weeks, and the whole month. Once you do this, you can either, well, remove or add columns if these are useful or not for you. You can export this in CSV format, but you can also click in an order to see what the problem is, okay? So if I have a failed delivery here, I want to see why. Why did it fail to deliver? Was it the address? Was it that it was damaged? Was it that I don't know, the carrier just didn't find the place? There could be many reasons here. Again here, for example, I have a few cases. I have one that failed because, and this is being returned to the sender. This was returned to the sender. And as you click over here, what you'll see is that you have what's called the tracking history, okay? So the tracking history will tell you step by step when things happened, what happened, where it happened, and what happened afterwards, okay? So in this case, for example, we have June 20th at 4:38 p.m. pickup. This is a first event. This is what you'll see typically when you manifest. And as the first interaction. In this case, it says pickup and electronic information submitted by shipper. Okay. Now, as this moves forward, let's scroll up a little bit. This was processed in Mississauga, went to Kitchener, Ontario, moved to Cambridge. Okay. There was an issue with the order, which is item being returned to sender, incomplete address, okay? So what ended up happening was that the item was returned and is en route to the sender. It was moving all the way back, right? The item was processed from Cambridge all the way, and it was returned to the sender, okay? Now, could this have been avoided? Item being returned to sender, incomplete address. We have a yellow or red flag over here, okay? Let me show you another order where we see the red flag up front. In this particular case, the shipment was picked by Canada Post, scanned, all right? So we got some light movement there. This moved from Toronto, okay, all the way to Winnipeg. The delivery preference was delivered to post office here. The item arrived, it was processed, it was out for delivery. So it went out. And there was an issue with the address validation here. Verifying recipient's address, possible delay. Doesn't mean it's going to be a delay, but it's a possible delay, okay? So that's something we don't want happening, because at the end, this translates into someone angry sending an email. Why is my package not here? I've been waiting for 2 extra days, right? Well, what ended up happening here was that it was returned to the sender as well. This failed to deliver. Not only did the address have issues with it, it ended up being sent back. So this type of scenario is it's a consequence, not of the carrier not being able to deliver as such, but there's something we could have done before for this not to happen. Okay, and that is information validation. Sometimes when we talk about leveraging data to improve processes, we think about how we can use the current information to our benefit. When sometimes the improvement is on the other side of the coin, is what did I do wrong? What can I improve on my end to have better quality data on my end and to send it to the carrier subsequently, okay? So let's move to techSHIP for a moment, okay, and see where we can change or improve things for this to avoid this sort of scenario. Let's go back to techSHIP and let's go to this slide. Let's give it a moment to load. All right. So over here we are our client. This client has many accounts. The LTL one that we saw, FedEx. We have a Pure Later here, UPS. Well, let's take UPS as an example. Okay. So as part of your setup, within carrier options, for the carriers that allow you to do so, you might have address validation options. Okay. So this is important. Some carriers might allow you to, some others won't. If I go, for example, let me open this one. There's an option here for address validation. And in this case, as you can see, the option chosen is no validation. So this is going to cause more than one problem, for sure. On one end, I mean, I could perfectly use it as no validation. But I would use it this way if I had something beforehand that actually validated the address and made sure against UPS's system that the address was effectively valid. Could be at the shopping cart where of the website you're buying this, could be an automated service, could be at the retailer's system if you're shipping for retailers, could be whoever. But someone needs to run this check for you to go to bed with peace of mind to use no validation. But it has to be pre-validated. If you use it with no validation and you don't validate before, what you will end up having is not only scenarios like this which we just saw, that the carrier has to verify the recipient's address halfway through. I mean, just know this. This started June 21st. This is June 24th. 3 days after, halfway through the place, right? This drove from Toronto to Winnipeg, crossed the whole continent, one side to the other, just to see if the address was right, okay? When it could have been perfectly handled before. So address validation options, for example, here, allow you to prevent this sort of issue. Depending on the carrier, of course, is how many levels or how detailed this address validation could be. For example, for UPS in this case, we have basic validation, we have residential check with basic validation. If we use this option, not only will the carrier check if the address we are sending is actually valid or not, it will also check if it's a residential area. If I use basic validation without residential check, my package will be delivered properly. I won't have this type of issue, so I shouldn't have this type of issue, okay? But if I don't validate residential, either here or before, what I might end up having is not a return, but it's an extra charge or a hidden charge at the time of paying my bills. Because over here, if I go back to the batch, I have a charge over here for the shipment. That's $35.16. Now, within this charge, I have 41.36 of the base charge. I have a tax of $2.07 and I marked it up down $8.27. But I don't have any residential surcharges, any fuel surcharges here. If I would have a residential address validation on, I'm going to get a much straightforward rate and a much transparent rate from the carrier. Also calculating residential surcharges, fuel surcharges, everything like that up front. And my rate shopping might not be tricky. In this case, it's really off, one option from another. But if you are getting, say, for example, you have two carriers fighting or competing for the rate. Let's say you have UPS and you have FedEx, right? Let's say that UPS in this case is providing this rate, as we just have, $13.15. And let's say that FedEx is providing $36.8. All right. So we have $35.15 against 36.8. But for UPS, I am not validating residential. I'm just not doing it. And if I set up FedEx properly controlling residential address validation, this rate does have that. Now, when I rate shop here in TechSHIP, I'm going to get this rate and UPS is going to win. But when I get my invoice and I get hit with surcharges because of it was a residential area, which wasn't controlled before, because I have fuel surcharges, etc., maybe this is a 38 cent, $38. And I actually lost in the rate shopping $1.20 against FedEx. Why? Because I didn't have address validation on. I got hit at the end with additional charges, which weren't part of the original rate or quote. Is it UPS's fault? It's not, because in the setup I didn't configure address validation here. I told it don't check it, right? If I did it before, that's fine. The rate I'm gonna get should be the right one. But again, I would still suggest in this case that you check it. Okay. Now, if you think about this for UPS, for example, we have 5 options here. Okay. If I go to FedEx, let me quickly go to a FedEx account. Let me find address validation. We have 3 options here: no validation, check residential, and full validation. So each carrier will have different address validation options. It's depending on them, not us. And it's not techSHIP or Techdinamics products, which is checking for the address. It's the carrier that is checking for the address. So whichever the case, in that sense, you can be fully with peace of mind, sorry, that if the order went through, it's because the carrier accepted the shipment. Okay, the carrier is the one validating the address, not us. But this is something that could be useful. Now, doing an in-depth analysis, as you can see, even from techTRACK, I can detect scenarios which might require me to improve my setup or my configuration on techSHIP's end. Why? Because techSHIP is the source of the information that is being handled through techTRACK. That's why I made emphasis in the beginning of this webinar that there's a direct dependency of techTRACK based on techSHIP. techSHIP feeds techTRACK as you process orders. And if from the roots, this information is incomplete, incorrect, not validated, it's going to go that way to techTRACK. Okay. Well, it actually goes to the carrier and then techTRACK picks it up. To wrap up and complete the case that we had, we started this webinar talking about transit time. How can I set up? How can I control my rates over here so my transit times can meet my requirements and at the same time give me the cheapest rates? This is not something that techTRACK is going to fix. techTRACK has nothing to do with processing the orders. It's something that goes on in techSHIP. Nevertheless, this information is here and can be fixed here. What I could do in this case, for example, again, reminding the options that I have over here. If I had, for example, a scenario where I needed to provide a service of 2-day stops for this carrier or under a specific account, I might end up with these services only. If I am permissive enough, let's say I expand this threshold a little bit and include up to 4 days, worst case scenario, I might end up with this little group of services available. Okay, just these 6. So how do I achieve that? Well, I can do it through advanced restrictions. So for example, in this case, this account that I have, this is the UPS RS account processing this order because it won the rate shopping in that case. If I go to UPS RS, what I could do when I edit the account is go into restrictions, move to the advanced mode, allow orders matching the criteria that I define. And I could say, bring me any service. I want to rate shop all the services available, but I don't want to rate shop these always. I want to rate shop these under specific conditions, okay? So in this case, this condition always has to go away. I don't want to rate shop everything always. I want to rate shop every service as long as the estimated delivery days is 2 days or less, okay? If I do it this way, TechSHIP will automatically discard order by order any option that doesn't make it in 2 days time. And just by defining this rule over here will save me the time and effort of having to think about order by order. Doesn't matter if you're processing orders one by one, if you're processed by batches, if your batch is 7 orders or 700, okay? It's going to keep this control every time you process an order, okay? Every time you rate shop, is going to take into account, good, fine, I reached UPS, I got these 7 services. Now, not every of these 7 services makes it in 2 days. I have service A, B, and C, and the other 4 just make it in more than 2 days, 3, 4, 5, 7, okay? So I'm going to clear out the options that do not apply to the case, and I'm going to keep the ones that actually comply with the service that I want. This setup should also be configured for the other carriers, which are rate shopping as well. In this case, for example, I got this one, which provided results. So what I'm going to do over here, same scenario, I'm going to go to restrictions, I'm going to go to advanced mode, allow all the services under this carrier, and add this condition for estimated delivery days, less or equal than 2. And by doing that, I can take data from the orders, right, to make sure that my rule, that I need a rule, or to detect that I need a rule to properly meet the needs that I have. And have a balance, again, wrapping up to the idea that we, or the concept that we handled before, between the cost and the speed, a good balance. The service that I need, from the service that I need, the cheapest option available, okay? Which could be different depending on the case. In some cases, if it's in zone 1, zone 2, it could be a ground option even, okay? You might pay just a few dollars and still deliver there, not leave that out. But if you arbitrarily choose the options, you're exposing yourselves into removing or ignoring services that might actually make it in time and save you a lot of money. Because if you say, well, we're not going to use ground because ground is too slow. My question would be, too slow to where? Too slow around the block? Too slow 50 miles away? Too slow 100 miles away? Too slow across the country, right? So in fact, what you like to do is something like this. If it makes it in 2 days or less, that's what I want. It doesn't matter if it's ground, if it's second day air, if it's priority overnight. As long as it's the cheapest option that makes it in that time, I want it. Okay. And this is information that we can get from here. You're leveraging your rate shopping data, your real data here, data provided by the carrier, transparently displayed for each batch and each order individually, to then create your rules. So to summarize, we're almost in time. My suggestion is keep these 2 tools, techSHIP and techTRACK, as close to each other as possible. Try to make the best out of the data you have. Sit down and analyze the data you have in techSHIP, and sit down and analyze, have a deep dive on the information and stats you have in techTRACK, okay? Try to find the gaps that you need to fill. And once you find these gaps, the answer might be into changing or improving how operations work outside of the system, but also try to find in techSHIP or in techTRACK what can be improved, what can be polished system-wise, what rules you apply in the physical world that can be translated to a digital rule, because everything you do in a physical world is logic. You're making decisions. A decision is logic at the end. It's executed and applied logic. You thought about something, you found a way to execute it, you apply a policy. So it doesn't make much of a difference to, well, define that within the system. So the system can do it for you. You don't have to do the heavy thinking. You do it once, the system does it undefinedly, okay? And again, use this information not to act on a hunch. This would be my key takeaway item. If you leverage your data within techSHIP and techTRACK combined, you don't need to act on hunches. You can act on data. You can use data and statistics to see what's performing properly, what's performing poorly, how can it be improved, and follow up on changes to see if the changes you have done actually have an impact into the performance. And obviously, again, make decisions outside of the system as well when it comes to organizing workforce, to defining a plan for specific times of the year, specific clients, and interact with more data when it comes to reaching a carrier for different reasons. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I hope this webinar has been useful. I hope that you can make the best out of techSHIP and techTRACK as well. And we'll see you at the next webinar. Thank you for your time, and bye-bye.